So, let's talk about tanks. About a month ago, the first Overwatch 2 beta released, and with it came a rework of the entire tank role with the goal of fixing all issues that tanks faced. And although I consider this rework to be mostly successful, I still think there are some issues that need to be fixed, especially when it comes to balance. And that's what I'm going to be talking about today. I think it's common knowledge that tanks melt very easily in Overwatch 1, and so to fix that problem, Blizzard made some changes to Overwatch 2 in an attempt to increase the survivability of the tanks. For starters, the health of the tanks has been buffed, along with their sustain and movement abilities. Armor has also been reworked. Now it absorbs 30% of all damage, as opposed to subtracting 5 damage points from every attack like before. And on top of all of that, CC in general has been toned down, along with tanks receiving a passive that gives them a small amount of knockback resistance. I'd say all of these changes are good solutions for the survivability problem tanks were facing, so yeah, good job devs, you did it. With that being said, tanks can definitively feel a bit too tanky at times. Like it's basically impossible to secure a kill on a tank by yourself, which can be pretty frustrating. Another thing I'd like to mention is that with the increase of the survivability of the tanks, Immortality Field has kind of become obsolete, and should be replaced by another ability. The whole purpose of Immortality Field was to literally make it impossible for tanks to melt, and since tanks don't melt anymore, then there's no purpose for it. Plus Immortality Field is an extremely annoying ability, and I think Overwatch would only benefit from having it removed. Doom and Orisa got fully reworked, and I'd say their reworks are pretty good. Orisa finally feels fun to play. Her movement while firing her gun has been increased, and that combined with the substitution of her barrier with Javelin Spin makes her an infinitely more aggressive tank. I think replacing Halt with Spear was a great move. Halt was a very annoying ability, and it was also very unsatisfying to use, giving you basically no reward for using it correctly, as opposed to her Spear, which is extremely satisfying to use and much less annoying to be hit by. Terra Surge is also a much more interesting ultimate than Supercharger. Supercharger was very straightforward and annoying to play against, and it also didn't fit the character of Orisa at all. Meanwhile, not only does Terra Surge fit with Orisa's character, it also has a lot of creative uses and combo potential, just like Halt used to have, but with the benefit of being easy to line up. Only problem I have with Orisa is how there's basically no risk when using her ult. You can use your spin to position yourself near the enemy team, without the risk of taking any significant amounts of damage. And once you ult, you gain the effect of Fortify, making you basically invincible, since now you have 500 health, 40% damage reduction, and CC immunity. So there's not much you can do against an ulting Orisa other than running away. As for the Jump Fist rework, I love how they severely increase his vertical movement by removing uppercut, and instead making his slam behave in a similar way like Winston's leap. Power Block is also a very interesting ability, leading to a lot of mind games in between Doom and his enemies. Although I will say that I don't like how Power Block also skills the stun duration of Rocket Punch. It's really annoying when you get hit by it, and it gives you absolutely no chance of surviving, since you also receive 140 damage on top of that. As for his ult, it's much better than before, but it can still feel a little useless at times. But overall, it's much more effective than it used to be. I don't have much to say about Reinhardt, Diva, Winston, and Zarya other than they're good. I like them. They are exactly what I expected them to be, but stronger and more fun. Most of the problems these characters had have been fixed, and I'd say they're all well balanced. There's honestly nearly nothing I'd change about them, so good job devs. But Hog. Oh poor Hog. Hog is really bad. You see, even though I just talked about how tanks don't really melt anymore like 3 minutes ago, I think Hog is the only exception to this. He's the tank with the least survivability in the game. He has no armor nor shields. He has no movement options, and his only sustainability is take a breather. It also doesn't help he has one of the biggest tank hitboxes in Overwatch. So, I propose a solution to this problem. We remove his unofficial passive that makes enemies receive 25% less ult charge when damaging him, and this might sound crazy, but we could give him a new passive that gives him a high amount of headshot resistance. I'm fairly certain this would make Roadhog a bit more tanky to say the least, and would definitively make him viable along with all other tanks. But I will say that this change could also be an indirect nerf, since without his unofficial passive, he will feed much more ult charge to his enemies. So another idea I had to make Hog a little bit better was to make him able to shoot while using Take a Breather. I will say that this could definitively turn out to be broken, but it has the benefit of keeping Hog's current passive. Also, if we are going to keep Roadhog's passive, I think it's time we give it an actual name and add it to Hog's info menu. It's kind of infuriating how the Overwatch team didn't give any indication this passive existed apart from the patch notes. So yeah, please make the passive official. As for Sigma, the dev team brought his one-shot combo back, and although it's very fun to hit his combo, I would be lying if I said it didn't feel annoying to get hit by it. So I think it would be really fun if they removed his one-shot combo and instead set his barrier cooldown back to 0. When his barrier had a 0-second cooldown, it was so incredibly fun to use. It felt so versatile, and was honestly one of my favorite things about Sigma. And I think this would be a good time to bring it back. If this change ends up making Sigma too strong, you could always nerf his health or grasp, but please make his barrier cooldown 0 again. A while ago I saw some footage of Ball when he was still in development, and in that footage we can see Ball using a flamethrower instead of his current gun. And I think it'd be really cool if they brought the flamethrower back. His current gun always felt extremely unsatisfying to use, and I think a flamethrower would be much cooler and satisfying to use. Recently, Ball got a huge knockback buff on his grapple, which was cool since it brought back a ton of Ball tech, but right now squishes get thrown away by Ball way too far, so I personally believe Ball could use a 10% knockback nerf. Also, instead of his pile driver knocking people into the air, I think pile drivers should instead give a 70% movement penalty effect on everyone hit by it. That would make getting hit by pile driver much less annoying while keeping the strength of it the same. Overall, most changes to tanks were very positive and make the tank roll much more fun. But I feel there's still something missing from it. Something that would fix every issue the tank roll currently has. Something that would make Overwatch as a whole a much better game. And that's Maga. Give us Maga, Blizzard. Hello everyone, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, then good news, I will be making more of these, and if you didn't, then I'm sorry, I guess. I wanted to thank some people for helping me out with the making of this video. Firstly, I want to mention the Bastion University Discord server. They were very helpful with getting footage and some tips to make my video better. The link to the Discord server is in the description. And I also wanted to thank Valer, Nebulazai, Violet, Tygo, and Igloo for giving me some feedback on uh, how to improve the video. And that's about it. See ya.